Good morning. What's good, fam? I.O.B.A. I'm TC. I'm up early shooting this one, but check this out. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about Joe Biden. Okay, hate touching my microphone. Anyway, makes this weird sound. Anyway, Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden is the Democratic front runner ahead of Bernie Sanders. I don't know how the fuck he got ahead of Bernie Sanders, but there he sits. Okay, so Joe Biden, the motherfucker that said he don't want his little blonde-haired, blue-eyed child to have to sit next to no brown-eyed, brown-skinned child just because that brown-skinned child wants to get a better education. And he'll be damned if he pays for some shit that happened 300 years ago. That Joe Biden. Joe Biden is, I seen an interview with him the other day. The interview was from 2015. But they were talking to him about his experience after he became vice president. He went and sat down with the former vice president. I think this is something that they do. Anyway, he sat down with Dick Cheney. And he started talking about how decent and nice Dick Cheney was to him and his wife. And then he started calling Dick Cheney a nice and decent man. Right? If you can find that interview, just go check it out. But anyway, my thing is this. How can anybody in their right mind blow sugar up Dick Cheney's ass? I said this in a previous video. How can you say anything in that vein about Dick Cheney? Dick Cheney is a motherfucking mastermind behind the Iraq lie when we blew up, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis and caused the death of thousands of young American men and women by sending them off to that bullshit war. That was Dick Cheney. Of course, it was George W. Bush and the rest of the neocons, but primarily it was Dick Cheney. And they asked the motherfucker years later if he had any regrets about it, and they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction or anything like that. And nah, he would he do it again? Yeah, he'd do it again. And this is the man Joe Biden is calling decent. Ain't nothing decent about Dick Cheney. And ain't nothing decent about motherfucking Joe Biden blowing sugar up that dude's ass and talking about how nice he is. Dick Cheney is one of the most evil men in recent American history. And then I saw another piece from Joe Biden, about somebody asked him about, he was out, I think he was in Iowa, doing a town hall or something, because, he on the campaign trail now. And somebody asked him to flesh out a little bit his ideas about health care in this country, because health care is a big issue right now, because, Obama had the Affordable Care Act, and it's been pretty much gutted, but it wasn't really shit to begin with, except a big giveaway to the insurance companies and the drug companies. I said that when he first came down with that shit. You know what I mean? But anyway, he asked Biden. They asked Biden about his health care plan, and he said he don't have time to explain it now. He don't want to bog people down with details. In other words, just vote for me because I'm not Donald Trump, and I'll give you the details later. How the fuck can you vote for a motherfucker you don't even know what his platform is? All he gonna tell you is, I just know that I'm not Donald Trump. Just know that I'm more decent than Donald Trump, which is arguable because Joe Biden, he got that problem with his hands where he like to, run his hands all over motherfuckers. Just vote for me and I'll tell you later. Pete Buttigieg, right? And I think Beto O'Rourke trying to use that same strategy, that vague. I don't have a direct policy yet. I don't have specific plans yet. It's too early for me to tell y'all that just know that I'm not Donald Trump and I'm going to be more decent than him. That's bullshit. So I'm going to go back in time a little bit. There was a movie a long time ago. I think it was called Made in America or something like that. It was the story of Don King, the boxing promoter. And in that movie, Don King used to run up on these fighters and he had this blank piece of paper with a signature line on the bottom, right? And he'd talk shit to the fighter and promise him a bunch of money and do this verbal agreement with him. And then say, okay, just sign it here on the bottom. And the fighter would be like, well, this paper is blank. He said, don't worry about that. I'll fill in all the details later. And that's what Joe Biden and them are doing. Some kind of okie doke shit like that. That's really fucked up. And they want you to vote for them based on that. Don't worry about the details. Just sign on the dotted line and I will fill in the details later. Never mind that the details that Joe Biden wants to fill in are more war, you know what I mean? More bad healthcare policy, more bad domestic policy, and fuck over black people. Because he don't have, if he ain't got no specifics for the whole country, he's definitely not going to have any for black people. The ADOS people, he definitely ain't got no plans for us outside of the nasty-ass plans that he's always had. I don't care how many Negro whisperers he gets and puts on his campaign, Simone Sanders, and how many, Aunt Jemima-ass black women he get, to tell him supposedly what black people think, Simone Sanders. He still don't have no interest in helping black people at all. And then one more thing. I saw a speech recently from him where he was talking about black people. He's such a fucking asshole. He said something about going into, doing some outreach towards, to get black voters. And I went into the hood and I've seen a bunch of black women and they didn't have education and most of them had GEDs and all of this condescending bullshit he was talking about. This is that same old stereotypical shit about black people not, we uneducated. Just the same shit that Donald Trump said about black people not having education, our schools are no good, and we're not having any job. He kind of parroted that same shit. He used different verbiage, but he said that same shit. That same condescending line about us not having any education and us, Now, granted, our schools are underserved and underfunded. But Joe Biden is one of the primary causes of that. But we already know how white people get their education, don't we? We already know how everybody else is cheating and gaming the system, don't we, as far as education goes. So fuck Joe Biden. Joe Biden ain't never going to be able to get the black vote anyway. Not from sensible black people. Not from sensible black people. So, yeah, I guess that's it on Joe Biden. But yeah, man, anytime you can sit there and talk about Dick Cheney as being a nice and decent man just because he was nice to you and your family, you and your wife, when y'all came for a visit. That tells me that you ain't no better than he is, not deep down. And that campaign slogan, I'm going to say this before I go. That campaign slogan, make America moral again, he said. Excuse me. When was America ever moral? I'll wait. When was America ever moral? Was it when they was carrying out the genocide against the Native Americans or the indigenous people of this land? Or was it when they was running that chattel slavery game? Or was it the Jim Crow era? Or was it the so-called civil rights era, or was it when there was lynching? When there was lynching and killing off our celebrities and stealing their intellect and stealing their artistic property? Was it when they were allowing their police to run around and just shoot black people, unarmed black people with impunity, right? And every time some cracker come run up in the school and shoot up 10, 12, 15, 20 people, they take him alive. When was America ever moral? And that's Joe Biden's campaign slogan, make America moral again. I think he ought to rethink that shit, because America never has been and never will be moral. Now, don't get it twisted. America, there's an argument that could be made when America was so-called great. I mean, great at bombing people and great at stealing people's resources and great at toppling democratically elected governments. We was great in that respect. You can make that argument. But moral, this country ain't never been fucking moral. Ever. The black people of this country are the moral base of this nation. And look how they shit all over us. Man, listen, I got to go. But that's what I think about Joe Biden and his policy. He is not the one. Don't get it twisted. He's the front runner because they say so. He's not the front runner because he's the best guy running, the best person running. The best people running, they get pretty much left out of the conversation. So far, the only one saying anything different is getting left out of the conversation. That to me is Tulsi Gabbard, and I haven't heard her black agenda either. But at least she's talking about, putting an end to this crazy ass war business. At least she's trying to stop this war business from continuing and this senseless killing and murdering that we do in this country in the name of democracy. The only person saying anything different is getting blocked out. And Bernie Sanders, with his healthcare law, his healthcare agenda, he's getting blocked out and ostracized too. Now, again, Bernie Sanders ain't got my support. Neither does Tulsi Gabbard, not as long as they don't have a black agenda. But I'm going to do a write-in or something like that when it's time to vote. If neither one of these people come over and try in earnest to get that black vote. Not all of the black vote, not just the women, all of it. And the only way they're going to do that is say that they, have tangibles for black people, tangible things that we can put our hands on that will affect our life in a positive way and the lives of our children and grandchildren. That's what they need to be trying to do in order to get the black vote. Biden ain't going to do that. He ain't even going to pretend to do that. So I'm running out of time on this one, y'all. But y'all keep your head up. Forget about Joe Biden, and Simone Sanders ain't nothing but a goddamn another version of Candace Owens. That's it for now, y'all. TC, and I'm out.